Workshop of the Klickitat County Board of County Commissioners to order. And we are going to begin with the Public Works update. Wow. That's what 4 inches of rain will do, huh?
Yes, exactly. Okay, we only have one thing on your consent agenda. That's a small works contract between Gary Denny floor covering and Klickitat County for $8,800 or $8,900 to put carpet and floor covering in the conference room and the break room at the courthouse. Construction program, I'm gonna turn that over to Seth real quick. I want to talk to you about this pictures we gave you. We had a minor erosion issue up at Courtney Road, and that's what these pictures are. If you go to the back picture here, you can kind of see a lighter color material. That's clay, and that's what that seam was. And it got saturated with that rain and it came down. We have a geotech coming in to verify that that will be, we don't have to do anything else. We know we don't have to do it, you know, because the rest of it's a rock slope. We had this one clay seam. Now we could have opted to dig it out at the beginning, but there's a cost to that. You typically don't do that because we have clay seams everywhere that stay standing. This one just happened to not do that. We'll get a geotech, our geotech's coming. He should be here right now as we speak. Looking at it, giving us some recommendations of what we need to do. What we'll probably end up doing is we'll cover it for the winter, which is not uncommon. We cover it with plastic, which is what we did when we did the other part of Courtney Road. And then in the spring, we will we'll fill that back up with riprap that we have in the Bingen quarry and move on from there.
So you're gonna dig it out, redig
We'll redig the ditch, establish the ditch,
and then put plastic, black plastic over it
and then just leave it. That's what I think he'll say, but I'm not sure what he'll, you know, without getting him out there, but that would be what I would suspect he'll say. You don't want to start messing with this stuff and have it grow because there's always that potential. Anytime you have open slopes, the first year is by far the worst. And again, we wanted him up here just to make sure this wasn't.
Does the seam go the whole length of that cut?
No, it does not. Thank goodness it goes. I don't know if we have a good picture of that. It does go a little further. So the total length is about 150 feet. So the total overall to take that seam out is about 1,000 yards of riprap. We've talked to the contractor. They have some in their quarry. They would haul that stuff out and we would, you know, they would do a back haul for us. So to reduce cost, but we're not, again, we'll see what the geotech says and move on from there. Plus the contractors, the other dilemma is contractor doesn't have any trucks until January, and we definitely don't want to be messing with it in January. And his trucks are all tied up on another job.
Got it. All right.
The other projects on the construction program, the Roosevelt Grade Road, we're still working with the PA's office on resolving that out-of-spec paving that was completed out there. The courthouse parking lots, all the paving is complete. I see the crews out there working on the fence of the wall. We've got some parking blocks still that need to be installed, but other than that, I think it's pretty much buttoned up for the winter. Let's see, the Rock Creek Bridge. Plans and provisions are in draft form, and we're going to do our internal review with a early 2023 ad. Sundale Road, Old Highway 8. We've got some alignments, preliminary alignments set. We got to wait for archaeological. We did complete our subgrade analysis, so we'd be able to design our section. The federal safety projects will go into internal review this month with an ad in early 23. Annual striping is also being assembled for an early 23 ad. That's all we had.
Okay, on the maintenance side, the crews are hauling sand, the east side crews are hauling sand, grading, putting shoulders on East Road where time, and responding to winter weather. We actually had snow in Bickleton this morning, about 2 inches or so, 1.5 to 2 inches. West End crews are finishing up the fence here in the parking lot. They're grading, ditching, and responding to winter weather. Friday, they were called out. We were called out by dispatch. We had trees down on the road after all that wind. We got all the trees up that Friday and Saturday, and we actually had to do some snow removal in Trout Lake. We had 3 to 4 inches in Trout Lake is what I was told. So we had some of the plows running. On the upcoming facility or the facility side, fencing, like Seth said, fencing will be completed, and then that's it for the parking lots. We meet with the contractor on the 10th to do the final punch list. We had the low ambient kit installed in the chiller this week, so we can run the air conditioner in the winter if we choose. Pioneer Center we've talked about. They're gonna finish commissioning later on this month, and then that'll be done. HVAC units still at the courthouse won't be done till the spring. We have stone removal contracts that are opening today. And Sadis Pass. Bid packet is it's ready. And that's just the way the timing worked with the consultant. We were hoping to get it to you next week, but you guys aren't here next week. So we can either wait the following week, or if you're agreeable, we could walk it on. It's another week isn't going to hurt anything, but I'll leave you guys make those decisions, whatever you would prefer. Because we could give you the packet that says that we're going, that gives us the ability to advertise in the paper.
Fine with me.
If it's ready.
Yeah, let's.
Okay, we'll bring it back. We'll get it to Lee. Okay. Some follow-up issues, concrete barrier that everybody's been talking about in Lyle. We talked to WashDOT. They're aware of it. It is their right of way. They are, Dave is going to be there. We're going to sit in on the conversation on Wednesday. They weren't even sure because he'd never even got an invitation yet. But it sounds like the last email I saw that they now have an invitation, so they will meet via Zoom with the community council. And they're going to tell them the same thing. They'll look into it because it is in their right of way. I can't remember his name. Vernon, I believe. He is right. They're pretty sure it was the railroad that put that there. Just did it.
So I'm assuming to place anything in the washout, there's a process.
Yes, there is. That's what he said. There's a
process for everything.
and nobody actually talked to them.
Interesting.
So, but we all know how tough the railroad can be. So they're like, well, we'll work with them. We'll see what we can do.
So is there actually a crossing where that old road goes down to it, or did that just go to the railroad and you got on the railroad? Did it actually go across?
There's a big debate about that.
Yeah, there's actually a road through there. If I can bring this up. There's actually you can see where there's.
Well, there's a road down to it.
Yeah.
But right here where it goes across, is it just over the top, or was there actually a crossing there?
Well, that's some of the research that Kim has done that's the infamous, there is a crossing, a legal right that belongs to the landowner that is now the Forest Service for a crossing, and in the research, and so the existing place where that goes down seems to be exactly where because that was like in 1914 or whatever. And so I think that's all to be determined, because the railroad said all along, oh, well, that's not where that crossing
was.
Exactly. And it's like, well,
Where
why would there be a crossing there that just coincidentally you built you built an access point there. No, you don't build those just randomly, so.
But right now, it's got raised rails and there's no way to drive across.
I don't
it.
believe so. Like they're never, like it was just kind of a flat spot that people, it wasn't a, like an improved crossing.
Okay.
In my recollection, I've only been over it a few times.
Yeah, I've never been over it. In my experience with the railroad, if you asked them if you had any crossings, they would say no. You've
No,
never had a
yeah, and that
crossing
has
anywhere.
been there, and I'm sure that's why they, they were trying to control folks going over that crossing, and so they put up the Great Wall of China and on the washdots right away. Although there is even that, there's disputes over, because the railroads was before WashDOT, and so especially in that space. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think Dave Berkey's gonna end up telling them, it'll be a lengthy process for us. Why we're not in support of it, and I want to quote him, I'm just paraphrasing, that, it's gonna take a while for us to figure this out.
Right.
And
Well, it's particularly difficult because the access right, the owner is the Forest Service, and they're not supportive of
They're not
having.
fighting for access.
No,
No.
they don't want, so it's kind of like you're trying to get somebody to do something that doesn't really want to do it. So they're not the ones screaming about you, how dare you block off our access? It's
so
the public saying, you need to be screaming about why are you blocking off their access? But-
exactly.
Forest Service get that piece of land anyway.
What's that?
Has the Forest Service always had that piece of land?
No, they acquired it in '94, I
Some
think.
kind of a land swap deal that they got this little piece that they.
No, they actually bought all that through the scenic area. So they bought the stuff on the north side. It was the old Jim Star place, and they bought it through the National Scenic Area acquisition because it was private land, including all the stuff out in the river. Because that land out in the river predates Bonneville Dam, and so it wasn't out in the river. It was farmland out, and so, which made sense, and that's why we really did some digging, because it's like, well, if it was farmland before Bonneville Dam, how did when they built the railroad, you would have kept some way to access your property, and they did. And it never was closed. There's the chain of title, that right just passed down, and when the Forest Service acquired it, it was still there. And it's still there today, but the Forest Service like, we don't really care. So anyway, that should be an interesting, I might zoom in just for.
Yeah, so you guys are, there's three
We have
agents.
today.
Yes.
Now we're another entity that the county has, we don't.
Zero.
We have zero, it's not on
No.
our land, we don't have any,
We have no rights.
we have no
either.
rights.
Yeah, there's three entities and we're not one of them.
We're not one of them, right?
I have one more thing on the list I didn't write down. I wanted to talk to you guys about. I was shocked the prices we're getting for carpet installation. Matter of fact, we had to kind of put one project on hold, the senior center, or, around their pool table and stuff, we were gonna replace the carpet. When I heard the cost, I'm like, how can it be so stinking much? We sat down with the low bidder and found out why. Here's the problem, because we tell them that they have to do it in off hours. Well, off hours for them means Saturday or Sunday. Well, they normally pay their people either piece rate or probably $20, $25 an hour or something. Prevailing wage, which is what they would pay during normal time, is $55 an hour. But they have to pay time and a half on that prevailing wage, which is now almost $84 an hour. And if they work Sundays, it's $112 an hour. That's why the cost is so inflated. And so my question to the board is because we'd like to work with the directors and the electeds in an area. This mainly concerns the Pioneer Center, where we can find a time where they can, move around or something. We can actually do it during the day, because that will save you half the cost, as opposed to sending them in on a Saturday and a Sunday. But I wanted your guys' take on that.
Yes, The other question, could we schedule part of that during, as far as like the pool table area? Because I know the dining hall is shut down 1 week a year for the floor. And we have just worked around that since the building was built.
Yes.
You know, at least that, I mean, that part, because it's adjacent to that area, so nobody's going in there anyway, as far as that part of it. But everything else, yeah, just work around because yeah, for half $120 an hour to lay carpet. I know what my new career is.
on Sundays.
Right.
Hey, but you know, that, like I said, it's a definite cost savings, and I was amazed because my prices just got exploded on what I had estimated. Like around the pool table, when we got the bids back at $25,000 to do that carpet, we can't do that. It's not even close to what we estimated. So that project ended up getting, you know, we're just not going to do it. And when I asked,
It's not a very
why,
big area.
No, when I asked them why, this is what they said. Look, we got to come in there on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday to pull it up and get everything, and then we'll still have a couple guys in here on Sunday, and this is what you're going to pay. So, I mean, when we did it in our building, for us, honestly, we just relocated people to keep the cost down. But I don't have that ability to tell other directors that they need to relocate some of their people.
You do now.
Okay? It will work with them, you know, because we have a place in health we want to work with, their lobby. And we got the price to do that lobby. If you've been in that lobby, it's not very big. It's the same price it is to do the whole thing over here. Because again, they're looking at coming in on a Saturday and Sunday. Like, okay, that's not going to work. We can't do that.
Even if you did a scheduled closure, just an outright.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about.
Just say, you know, give
Yes.
people lots of notice that, you know, 2 months from now, this office is going to be closed on, you know, pick your,
Yes.
what's their least traffic day and say, you know, Wednesday and Thursday or Thursday and Friday or whatever it is. And you just.
Because that's gotta be cheaper than having them come in and piecemeal this one over here and this one over here and this one over here. I would rather personally.
ready to,
do
like,
it.
close the whole building.
I would rather do a closure, save the money, get in, get it done, get it out.
That's what we did. I just wanted to get, you know, again, I have to talk to you guys before I talk to them.
Rather than that, could you use the window right there by environmental health and just send them in through David's and then shut that main waiting room down and people?
That's another option. We can talk to them about that. And I don't want to speak for Erin because we haven't had a chance to talk to her. I just wanted to talk to you guys. It's not like I'm trying to end around them, but I just needed to talk to you guys first to see if you were on board before we go to talk to them about closing their office down or whatever. You know, once the waiting room, that does have an impact. So they would have to close for a day. Again, those are long lead items, so they would get plenty of notice.
Right.
But
We can't go in your office anyways, so you don't get it.
okay, I thank you very much.
The RCO planning grant that's due next week, and we're not gonna be here next week, so we need to figure out a time to sit down to do the Goldendale one this week.
Yes, I have to do it this week anyway, because you're right. Now, for some reason, I could have swore it was the 15th, but now they're saying the 14th. So I can come by and see you this afternoon, whatever you want.
I actually got a meeting this afternoon, so we can schedule for either tomorrow or Thursday. We're gonna be in here Thursday, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll be here Thursday.
I was gonna say Thursday afternoon, are you around?
Yes, I actually have something with the EDA for 90 minutes, I think is what the meeting's scheduled. I think it's from 2 to 3:30. So after, I think that's what it is. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So I can do it before that or after that, whichever you prefer.
He'll email you.
Yeah, I guess. I'll let you know. I don't know how long the Thursday is going, so. Looks like it's going to 1:45 for some reason. So, sounds like after.
Okay. Okay. I'll come by as soon as I get out of my meeting.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? How's, I've been getting a lot of people saying that the east end of the county, the grading hasn't occurred yet. Are you guys behind? Because they're saying the roads are worse than they've ever been.
I don't want to, outside of the area with the solar farm, and we started grading our portion of that. They're now going to grade their portion. So a lot of that was that. As far as us being way behind, we're not that far behind. I mean, we never got the rain we typically get in the spring, so it's still weather related. I've heard that same thing. Somebody
Are
called.
you talking way east?
No, like Centerville East.
No, we're grading now. We have been, so we should be just about caught up. I'll talk to the supervisor over there, make sure. I know we've been talking, we've had graders out the whole, pretty much most of the time. It's just, we didn't get weather for a while, so that was part of
It only
it.
started raining 2 weeks ago.
No, I've heard that same, I've heard the rumor that, and there were budget cuts. I said, there were no budget cuts about grading. No, we just didn't get there because of the weather. But I've talked to some of the local ranchers, they've called me, and I know we've taken care of like Hunter Road and a few of the other roads that they needed, and we try to work with them and other people that we know are using the roads and get them graded as much as we
Speaking
can.
of which, Horseshoe Bend Road coming into town, right next to Wing Road, there's 2 signs that tell you that the road curves when I'm blew over.
Yes, we had that conversation. We're gonna have, they're gonna install that hopefully today.
Deeper than this far?
Yeah.
Because that's all the dirt that was on the bottom of the post, and I'm like, oh.
Our sign tech is on vacation, right? Yes, but the road crew fills in.
I just wasn't sure because it was laying down. I didn't
No,
know if I saw
no,
it.
no. Yes.
Few calls.
Yeah, we've gotten some calls and we're gonna definitely get that in.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right,
Okay,
thank you,
thank you.
gentlemen. Next up, we have Human Resources Administrative Services Director, Rob Van Cleve.
What time did you say you're out of your meeting, Jeff?
It's from 2 to an hour and a half.
Probably 3:30-ish or so.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess. We might be, I don't know why we would have that long, but I don't know. I'll try to get out.
All right, thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's the A team and me. So we'll start off with human resources, and Casey, you want to talk about open enrollment and some other stuff?
Yeah, open enrollment started November 1st. We are just answering everybody's questions, taking forms, all that good stuff, just busy with that. We are looking at also getting a verbal for public health department. They had a nurse submit her resignation, and so they are looking for a verbal to post for the public health department. Public health nurse, steps 1 through 3.
Yes.
Also wanted to ask for, and I'm not sure the format, if you want to vote or just a verbal. The Behavioral Health Services org chart had, for the DCRs, had 2 FTEs and 2 contract employees. Aaron's had to hire 6 contract employees versus any regular employees, at least through December, if possibly longer. So we just like approval for a temporary change to that department's new org chart, allowing more than 2 contract employees that were anticipated at the time. Hopefully we'll get back to it after we work out some other details.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, I know that's what's working,
Yeah.
so
That's part of the whole startup process. We gotta,
Be fluid.
it's
Yeah,
pretty
so-
fluid.
but we wanted to follow process and
Right.
and bring it to the commissioners. So.
I
And then
don't
Casey-
think the ink's even dry on that one yet, so
No.
just smudge it out and write
That's right.
6.
That's not the goal.
Yeah, I know.
To be determined.
Short timer.
Yeah. Well, I've decided I'm allergic to this building, although I think it's psychosomatic.
So Nationwide has presented another investment option for our employees. And this is kind of a brochure regarding the plan. We are just looking for approval to move forward with them to include this as one of the benefits that the employees can contribute to. Our Nationwide rep said this is a great plan as far as people that are near retirement, and it's a lot less risk because you don't lose on it. It's very popular out in the agent sold marketplace with lots of commissions. And obviously, if we go through Nationwide and offer this for our employees, no commissions would be included with that. And it's just one more option in addition to the deferred compensation accounts for people to contribute to another account for their retirement.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. So this information has also been sent to the auditor's office. If it is approved, they'll have to create those deduction codes for us and then just make sure that everything on their end is accurate for.
We haven't heard back from Brenda yet.
Yeah. Our Nationwide rep said it's a very popular option for people who want no downside investment risk with an upside market potential. So.
That must be why somebody who's retiring soon is reading.
Just whipping through the pages. Sign me up.
It's too late for me. I opened my statement yesterday. Good. Don't recommend doing that.
Picked a great time to retire.
Yeah.
So I know sometimes commissioners like time to ponder things. We don't need approval today, I don't
No.
think. If you, we can come back next Tuesday if you want more time, or following the next meeting if you need more time to.
So it's
personally don't care. I mean, it can be added because then it's not up to me to do the due diligence for the investor anyway. So if you give them one more option for them to,
Right.
that might fit into their needs.
And it's at no cost to the county, because like the deferred comp accounts, those are employee only contributions, not employer. So.
Right, I just don't see, if folks want to do it, it's just one more option for them. And if you want to work through a payroll deduction, I don't care one way or the other. So it doesn't cost us anything. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. There is a page that would need signature, so I can submit that next week in the agenda if we're okay to move forward with that, and if Brenda's okay with it.
The week after.
Week after that.
Oh, the week after that, yes.
Yeah, I always question anything that says there's no downside risk in the market. Okay.
Well, when you make 3% return on investment in a year where it's 7% inflation, that's downside just getting 3%.
Right, but what it's saying in here is that your capital investment can't go down, and you have a cap of 7% upside, and it's like, how do you have an investment that can't go down? That's the due diligence that employees should do, and I'm totally fine with it.
I'm fine with it.
yeah.
I'm assuming they're covering it from when it's more than 7.
So
to
the
keep that.
upside market potential is up to a cap rate, and the current cap rate is 9.5%, according to Nationwide.
Okay.
Always on your side.
Nice. I'd sing it if the microphone was off.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Casey.
So while Jen's making her way up here, on the consent agenda, there's the org chart, revised org chart for the solid waste department that has the revised position that we talked about in the past, community engagement program coordinator. Just note that the director box is still showed on the org chart, but it's unfunded FTE will not be filled. So I kept going around, should I take it out, leave it in, take it out? But Commissioner Sauter always says, sometimes you're better off to leave the box in there, just it's not funded. So I left the structure of that department in there, but it's an unfunded FTE and will not be filled in 2023. So just want to make that.
Did we, I see that we still have the new title, which I'm gonna eventually have to remember your acronym, and the landfill inspection person on equal footing. Were we originally gonna take the landfill inspection person off that org chart and roll them onto another org chart?
Yeah, I had a
or-
discussion with Director Quinn. She's not been able to be here and have that discussion with you about that, whether that's a reporting relationship or what that looks like. One of the things that we can change or leave the same is that can be funded out of the solid waste department because it gets landfill money. We did talk about that. Otherwise, you'd have to move landfill money to public health. So that position can stay in this department, be funded with the money, the landfill money that comes into this department, and have a reporting relationship somewhere else. But without Director Quinn having a discussion with the commissioners, I didn't want to presume to move that box. So for now, it's in there. Would be.
We could have that conversation this afternoon, Thursday.
Any other questions about that on the consent agenda? Okay, thank you. And we will, so then with that, do I have verbal approval to post that position following the approval of the consent agenda? Okay, thank you. Another member of the A team?
Morning.
Good morning.
We have the 2022 last, hopefully the last supplemental that is due to me by November 10th for all the directors and electeds listening. We do have one more scheduled, but it's more of an emergency situation to kind of anything that happens to pop up. And that would be due to me by, I believe, November 28th, the last week of November. So it would just be simultaneously happening, should anything happen. But for those that are listening, please take a look at your budgets and get me supplementals by the 10th. As far as the 2023 budget, after doing some reworking after workshops, added a couple, you guys have added a couple things in, moved some stuff around. We are approximately between $59 and $60 million on the expense side, total budget. The majority of that increase from the original proposed budget actually is budget neutral items. So behavioral health that got added in, Public Works Road, added in a couple $1 million for some projects. Then the radio project is another $1 million. So I mean, total that's almost $4 to $5 million there between those additions. Like I said, budget neutral, they came with their own revenues for that. Originally in the preliminaries, we had budgeted to use $760,000 of funded balance. The way sales tax is coming in at this point in time, I believe that it actually is going to trend to where we won't need to be using fund balance in 2023, as well as it will replenish the supplementals use of fund balance. So
That's very good news.
very good news, yes. And then we got fleet vehicle set up in non-departmental. It's a commissioner's budget, but it's under the non-departmental within, and then there's a subsection of central services there. I felt that was probably the best place for that. So we got some bars numbers set up there. I will pull the rental rates from whatever vehicles that are being pulled out of the other departments. I will need an answer on exactly what vehicles those are, preferably today.
So that was going to come up under the IT section, but we can talk about it now if you prefer.
It's now, so I think we just get the consensus on the vehicles now and move on.
So I can tell you what I've heard, and maybe you can confirm. So one from solid waste, because one will stay with the compliance officer. So the other one will come to the fleet, 2 from WSU. Now there's 3 in economic development, natural resources, and I don't know if you're going to move all 3. So that's undetermined. And then potentially, I think there might be 1 from the assessor's office. So I just need to know, mostly in the economic development, natural resources, how many of those vehicles you would put in the fleet.
And didn't planning volunteer one as well? Oh,
That went to health.
oh, that went to health, that's right.
Mhm.
I knew they was, okay.
So my question is, yeah, how many do we go with economic development? Do we want to leave them one vehicle to share and then they can get into the fleet for anything more than they need? I don't know how much they use their vehicles, so I would,
Have you had a conversation with Director McClure about it?
I did, it just letting him know that the discussion had come up and there was, but I didn't know how many of his vehicles and he's on vacation, so.
2 Explorers and an Escape, I believe.
I would never
Question
speak
I
for him.
have-
I think he said, I hope they leave me one, but I'm not sure. I mean, I wouldn't put that as a quote.
I would be inclined to like leave them, so there was one dedicated one and
Right.
the others would be available.
right. That would be my.
Because there is
thinking
the
as
feel,
well.
you know, because you go out and, I mean,
Right.
there's,
You spent a month out there.
Right.
Twice.
But again, I'm not speaking on his behalf, so. So two,
Are we putting a chip in the one we're leaving behind to see how often it gets used for next year?
I'm putting one on the other solid waste vehicle, wherever it winds up reporting that vehicle should have, because there's money in the solid waste
I'm
budget to
fine with
cover it.
leaving one behind, but I would like to see a chip in it so we can see how, if it needs to get sucked over next year.
that's fine, this seems reasonable.
And then are we adding one from the assessor's office to the fleet? So there'll be solid waste 3, 4, 5, 6 in the fleet.
And are we gonna keep one down in White Salmon?
Yeah, I think the short answer is
So
we're,
That's just a matter of which one.
lots of details to work out, but I'm assuming we need to leave 1 or 2 down there for sure.
I would agree.
So,
The Escape used to be down there when I was there.
it's momentarily not working.
The Escape is not working yet?
Didn't go over rocks very well. Unfortunate incident on them, so,
Oh,
but it'll get fixed.
okay.
Nobody got hurt and that's a good thing.
The Escape in Natural Resources?
Oh,
the
no, there's
escape,
another
no.
escape. Oh,
No,
sorry.
no, the Escape in Natural
Oh,
Resources.
they had it, okay, I didn't know they had an
That's the
escape.
one that,
Used to be down in White Salmon.
used to be in White
Okay.
Salmon.
That one's fine,
Okay. Yeah.
as far as I can tell. So I'll talk to, I'm sorry.
And senior services, there used to be like one that we kept that went back.
On the injured list.
Okay.
But yeah, it's down. I think it resides down there.
And with that one that came in the email, do I need to fill that out? Do the investigation?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was unavoidable. It was a true
Right.
accident. Nobody was hurt and that's good. So,
Do we get to file a tort claim with the state for their shoddy rock work on SR 14?
You know what they say about payback?
so would you like me to, there's a lot of little details because I think January 1, just what we're talking about. So the fleet's up January 1 with the new budget, correct? So would you like me to talk to Public Works about designating spots somewhere here and in White Salmon for the fleet cars and signage and so, and then work with, help Lee figure out how we're gonna do this, especially in White Salmon, who's gonna be responsible for the keys and that kind of stuff down there, so.
Yeah.
But
I
that's,
would think, I mean, for me, I'd like to see them in a designated spot, so they're always in the same,
spot.
not like, well, where's the flip, you know, oh, somebody left it over here, yeah, yeah, where is it?
Yeah.
Give me 3 sets of keys and I'm gonna listen to which one sounds closest.
I like designated spots too, and I'd love to be able to keep an eye on the designated spots so I can see at least if our employees are parking in said designated spot. And for me personally, I would like them in this parking lot.
It's close.
Because not only is it close, we can see it, you should be able to see from here whether the car is actually in the spot.
Available. Yeah.
It just seems easier than walking around the building and then can't find the car kind of thing, so. for
well,
me,
having
right
the
here
cars
would
there
be-
24 hours a day, or at least in the evenings and weekends, closer to the building's probably safer. So. Okay, well, we'll work all those details out with the other departments and Lee and Gordy, okay? Thank you.
The other answer I need today from an open item from a workshop is the assessor and that position requested.
That was a yes on granting the position request.
I was a
Yes.
yes.
Thanks. Before I get to that one, I want to, so the code compliance officer, are we putting the GPS in that rig? Is he still going to have a designated rig? His rig's not going in the fleet, right?
He may end up changing out with one that does go in the fleet, because he wants a pickup.
Right.
So whether we get a pickup from the sheriff's office in one of his vehicles that are no longer being used, or whether we take a pickup, one of the WSU vehicles for the fleet is a pickup. So I think there's gonna potentially be some swapping around of our own vehicles to get him that off-road capability.
So when he's doing that, then his rig would probably go into the fleet,
Correct.
be available, so probably should have it. And by the way, don't quote me on this, but I think the fleet software per rig without the camera, which most cases we're not using the camera, came in a little bit less. It was $20, a little over $20 a month versus the $24-25 we thought it was gonna be, so.
So, yeah, it would be my one person's opinion, to check to make sure there's no sheriff's office vehicles that he could use and have. Then if there isn't, then the WSU truck gets assigned there and gets camera.
There's
Needs
still
a
a
camera?
discussion. Were you gonna put a camera in? We talked about that, but didn't you, because he wouldn't be in front of his rig.
Right, that's what's in
Right.
GPS, sorry. I said camera.
Yeah,
then-
I'm in favor of putting GPS in there so that dispatch always knows where that vehicle is, because he goes to a lot of, by himself, a lot of places that aren't the best. And then if that vehicle gets moved over to the fleet, then whatever his new vehicle would still have a GPS in it, or fleet.
And I should tell you that Gordy has asked for that software to be installed in one of their pickups for GPS reasons. And they want a full presentation from the software company for consideration for more of their vehicles. So they're actually going to put one in as a test and for the GPS function. And then at the same time, or in the near future, actually meet with the software provider to get a full presentation and see if it worked for their fleet as well. So, and then at some point there needs to be another discussion about the sheriff's. There was a discussion about if they use it, if you were going to pick.
Add the funds into their budget.
Right.
Would they use it? So the cost for them would be.
I think they were looking at just the rigs for the deputies. I thought they said 17
$17,000?
rigs.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought it was like $7,000 or something.
Yeah.
$20 a month.
But I think it's less than that now, a little bit less, because they've already got cameras in their rigs because they have the body cams and so it would just be, I believe, the basic software, so.
It would be my recommendation of the board that we offer to add that in to their vehicle maintenance or whatever part of the budget that would come out of. So that it's not an expense-related reason why they're not.
I get $4,000. And if we're gonna have dispatch be able to see where,
Yeah, dispatch, we'll have to work on that. The way it's set up now is each department that has a rig, someone in their department, like, I think Karen monitored it when the sheriff had it in test mode, and the chief deputy had access to it. Dispatch didn't, and each department, like Public Works, would be able to, Seth would monitor theirs. So I haven't talked to Jeff about dispatch having access to that software. I don't know why they couldn't. But it's really up to the department to track their employees or to know where they're at if they need to find them.
If they haven't heard from them in a while, they can know where
Right.
they're at.
But whether dispatch can also have access, we can work on that.
So it would, I think this board, being pro-law enforcement, would easily come up with $4,000 for officer safety if the department so choose to put it in their court. And
so as I understood it, the dispatch is getting more monitors, right?
Yes.
Dispatch is getting more monitors. When we first had this discussion, the sheriff had talked about officer safety. And we have multiple times where an officer forgets to call in when he goes off duty and we're having to send people around and he's asleep or whatever. And this would be a very easy way to have a map and be able to see where each one of the officers is. And I would say that the dispatch should have access to the officers as well as the code compliance officer and be able to pull that up on a screen at any time.
We'll
They
meet with,
just might need admin privileges.
yeah, we'll check with the vendor, yeah. So far in the test mode, each department was monitoring their own, but yes, we'll look into that. I don't see why it can't be done.
I said ideally, it'd be nice if all of our fleet vehicles showed on their map. Whether it's code compliance or whether it's litter pickup or whether it's, I mean, any vehicle we should be able to show on a map.
And, you know, I think with Jeff, and I'm not speaking for him either, it's just a matter of what they track it, you know, like the cameras, they can't have them all up at the same time. But very
But they should
quickly
have
they can,
access
yes,
to
very
it
quickly
if
they can
there's
get
an
to them.
issue.
So, yes, we'll look into that.
That's the thing, we don't want to, wait for there to be an active shooter drill, life scenario going on and then realizing, oh, they can't monitor our cameras. Failure.
Definitely look into that. Thank you. And then the final thing was in the budget set aside, there was 4% for non-union, non-represented employees for COLA for 2023. That's contained in the budget. So if the budget is approved, then of course we'd bring forward, I think we bring forward a resolution to do that, and we're just checking in to see if that's still a possibility in the proposed budget, so we can prepare the resolutions and
I mean, yes, on a 4% COLA.
I have built in the 4% for wages, the 4% for non-PEB benefit increase to go along with those wages, as well as a 9.05% PEB increase that is currently built in the budget right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's another big increase, but compared to what the inflation rate is, you're actually losing ground, but at least it's a nod. We're trying to keep up as best we can. But, if inflation is running at 8%, but we just can't we can't fully cover the COLA. So.
and again, for those listening, this money is already included in
The
and
budget,
has
right? It's
been
not
all
an
the way
increase.
through, right.
We've been banking on that.
I have it as a placeholder. And not
It's a
the part
placeholder
number.
in the budget now, so it has no budget impact as far as on
I just-
the draft budget.
We just didn't want to make any assumptions.
No.
And we are getting questions from some employees, and all pending approval of adoption of the budget, if this stays in there. So this is just kind of the first check-in with you to make sure it's still.
If you'd like to adjust that percentage, I can go rework some numbers today to try and come up with different percentages.
So between those who get step increases, of 3%, plus the 4%, you're at 7%, inflation's at 8%, and you're getting a 9% PEB. I think that all washes out and it keeps people as whole as possible.
I think it's a reasonable, we're trying as best we can.
And it's consistent with the unions again.
And
I think
it's consistent with the
Right,
union.
that's the other big piece.
Right,
Is
so-
that we've always tried to make a commitment, which we have not always been able to realize that we would do for the non-union the same as we do for the union. So.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Jen.
And last but not least, the newest member of the A team. I told him I'm practicing my look, like, what?
Yeah.
Where'd that? What?
What are you talking?
What are you talking
First time
about?
I've heard of this.
That's right. What? Take it away.
Okay. Well, I've been here 2 months now. I've done a lot of observation, and I've spoke with most of the department heads and elected officials. And it's time for me to actually tell you what my thoughts are and my plans, okay? I do want to preface this is with, right now, all I'm doing is I'm setting a direction. You know, I'm not asking for anything, but I'm setting a direction, okay? First thing I'd like to say is in my observations, what I can see is Jeff Rowe did an amazing job of building the infrastructure that we have now. He is, you know, from what I've seen, of course, you know, there's always going to be improvements. There's always going to be room for improvement, but what he has done with what he had is excellent. Jeff was construction, from what I could see. He built the network into what it is. I was here 20 some years ago, and I got to be Rev Zero of the Klickitat County network, and he's brought it leaps and bounds beyond where I'm at, beyond where I left it. So what I'd like to say is Jeff was construction. I am going to be operations and maintenance. Okay. That doesn't mean that we're not going to make additions as time goes by, but what that does mean is we're gonna tidy up after construction. Okay. And first and foremost, the most important thing is customer service while preserving system integrity. The customers are going to come first. Our customers is every county employee, and we're going to treat them as such. We're going to treat them as customers. Okay. We serve the customers, our customers, so they can serve their customers and ultimately the public. And in that, and like I said, this is a direction. We are going to communicate early and often when it comes to issues, when it comes to new things. That's what we're going to do. From what I've heard, communication hasn't always been at the forefront. But you know, when you're neck deep in it, you don't always have time to step back and tell everybody what you're doing. When there's a problem, when one of our customers comes to us with a problem, we're going to own the problem. We're going to own it until it comes to a satisfactory resolution. We're gonna collaborate with customers, and if there is, hopefully it's rare, but if there is a point in time where we must tell them no, we're going to give them full disclosure as to why it's no. Again, back to the communication. We're going to tell them why. You know, and at that point, you know, the IT team is going to come at it with a united front. But hopefully that's rare. You know, hopefully we can communicate well enough and we can collaborate well enough that we find an acceptable solution to whatever their problem might be. There's 3 levels of support. There's the day-to-day help desk tickets. That's first responder. Okay, that's the help desk position, and that's when somebody calls with a problem. My house is on fire. We respond to that, and we do whatever is necessary to take care of it. The second, and this is the heart of what IT does, system administration, the stuff that nobody sees. That's really the meat and potatoes of what we do. The system backups, the network application advances, things of that nature. That's the meat and potatoes. That's what nobody sees, but that's where the infrastructure. That's where we keep the infrastructure stable. Let's see, and then not the top level, but the third level is project management. And when I say project management, I'm not saying that somebody is going to come to us with a problem or with a situation, and then we're going to take over and manage it for them. No, we're gonna manage it. We're gonna manage the IT resources for them, and we're gonna probably me. We're gonna sit in on the meetings that we can, and we're gonna look at it from the IT perspective. Then we've got work classifications. There's basically two. There's projects, which is everything from a beginning, middle to an end, which includes help desk tickets. And then there's routine maintenance. Again, that's what the system administrator does, is routine maintenance. So the IT culture is going to be a team environment. And that's not going to be a big change from what it already is, because from what I've seen is the IT team is you know, we were when I started, prior to me, we were half staff, you know, so it's, you know, there's all four of us, there's two of us that are new. But I'm going to do everything I can to emphasize a team environment, but that team environment is going to revolve around customer service. Let's see. Okay, so the information, we're going to share information between team members. We're not going to silo anything. We're not big enough to silo things. You know, if we could have a team of 8 or 10 people, then we could say, okay, you're the network administrator, you're the database administrator, but we're not. So we all have to know each other's business. And that way, if one person goes away, they don't carry all the knowledge with them. Cross-training. Let me see. Okay, so now employee advancement. First off, hopefully the team that we have will stay, and you know, hiring won't be necessary for years to come, I hope. But when it is necessary, we're going to look for someone, and this is it. You know, we're not going to look for any specific skills. We're going to look for the right person, and that right person is going to have a high aptitude for technology. He's going to have drive in a positive way, which, when I say drive, they're going to be eager to learn and eager to share what they know. Okay, and then they're going to have integrity. They're going to be able to own their own. You know, they're going to hold themselves accountable, be honest, open with others around them. When possible, I would like to be able to hire, whoever we hire, I'd like to be able to grow your own, for lack of a better term, hire someone in help desk level 1. And because that's the perfect training ground. They learn our systems. They get familiar with the customer base, and it's a great place for them to learn. So hopefully however, you know, you never know what situation might come around. Maybe we have a really serious need for someone with a specific skill set, and at that time we'll address that. But in general, I'd like to hire people, you know, with the in a help desk 1 position, right? And bring them in, and so for the first year they work under supervision, and they do the help desk support, which is, again, you know, the first responder stuff. And then after a year, after of doing that supervised for a year, they hopefully move into a help desk 2 position. Okay, and then that person, and they would do that for probably another year. Okay, and provided that they have gained the knowledge, which after a year they should, but they're going to be able to run the help desk independently without a whole lot of oversight. Then after at least 2 years with the county, we would move them into System Admin 1, which is really the heart. That's where the value comes in. Okay, so they would work as help desk, or excuse me, Admin 1, System Administrator 1 for at least a year, and that would be a training time. You know, that's when they're working with the other administrators that we have, and they're getting even more familiar. After hopefully a year, they move into a help desk, or excuse me, system admin 2 position, and that's ideally after 3 years with the county, and they're familiar with all the systems, and they can work independently, you know, on backups, on database administration, network administration, and keep things going.
And this overlays well with, if you remember for the salary survey, the consultant said that the reason we look for the midpoint is when somebody's theoretically fully trained. So by the time somebody got to system admin 2, they'd be your 4 years. So you're looking in that 4 to 5 year window. So at the midpoint, these people would have been through the help desk and the system admin, and they're at or close to being at the midpoint where they would be theoretically fully trained in all things IT.
The position above that now, system admin 1 and 2, we, you know, if we maintain the same staffing levels, you know, ideally we would have 2 people as system admin 2, right? And then I would like to take a position and turn it into a senior system administrator, okay? And what that would do is that would take, that would be someone with, that is seasoned in IT. You know, they know their way around. They have some leadership qualities. They understand the process, and they would be the county's number 2 the IT department's number 2 in charge, and that would be a salary position. Okay, the others right now, there's 3 hourly positions, and we would just change that to a salary position. They would be able to work independently, and that way, if the IT manager left, we still have some leadership in the department.
Would it be your goal that that person would still be getting training to get more knowledge?
Oh, well, training is forever, you know. You never stop learning. Well, you do, but then it doesn't matter.
You only stop learning when you stop listening.
Oh, I was going to say you only stop learning when you die.
Well, you stop listening when you die.
Yeah, that's right.
People stop listening before that. But
Yeah.
no, I appreciate all you're going through with all this training stuff.
Okay. And then, of course, the IT manager, and then we, you know, as we move through this, the IT manager, it again, and it's already part of my job description, is to provide leadership and direction for technology staff. But everyone has their hands in the pie. Everyone is doing this. So the positions from help desk 1 to system admin 2 is a path of progression. And also what the idea is there is hopefully if you grow your own, you're going to have people more, hopefully more loyal, and wanting to stay with the county, as opposed to a high turnover rate. You're still going to have that because, you know, I mean, government positions like this generally don't pay as much as private, you know, and if someone gets to a certain level and wants to learn more that we can't offer, well, you know, we would wish them well, and we would start the process over again. But from help desk 1 to system admin 2 would be a progression. Let me see.
So again, we're not asking for any org chart change. This isn't Randy's first rodeo. So, you know, and I seen him do this before. He lays out a vision for the department and the staff, and it's a roadmap to get to where we need to get. And that roadmap takes a while and takes years. And along the way, we will come back, or he will come back and ask for changes or ask for some of these things to be implemented as the team gets there. But if you don't lay out the roadmap, you don't know where you're going. And he's very successful of having done that in the past. So.
The only other thing that I would like to address is the help desk position, because if we have everybody system administrator who's answering the phone, well, what we would do at that point in time, of course, during the training process is if someone's, in the help desk position, they're fielding 100% of the calls. But if everybody's a system administrator, then what we do is we turn the help desk from a position to a duty that we would rotate among staff. And as a team, we would just work that out. But somebody's always got to answer the help desk calls. And so it would be a duty that we would just work out among the small staff that we have.
I think this is important because we have all seen time after time, we lose somebody who has the keys to the kingdom, and then we're scrambling trying to recreate or change or do things differently or figure out how things were done before. This kind of process assures that there's always somebody in the queue, and there's always somebody learning, and ultimately everybody knows. So nothing is reliant on a single point or a single person.
A single point of failure.
And it's that knowledge base that you spread out over the team, and that's the roadmap to do it. So,
How well is that knowledge base currently spread out amongst the team?
Well, right now we have 2 help desk people. We've got a help desk 1 and a help desk 2. We've got 1 system administrator, and then you've got me, who is coming up to speed, on the technology that we have now. So quite frankly, it's not spread out very well. So I need to start spreading that out.
That all sounds good and everything, but are you planning on actually writing this up, having a policy in place, your employees know about it, they can hold people accountable for training or lack of training? Or
I have had several discussions with the staff, and I presented this to them yesterday in our weekly staff meeting. So they are aware of it, and by and large, the people that I have now are favorable of it, because it gives them it gives them a path forward, as opposed to stagnating in one position, because that's when you start losing people, is when they have done the same job over and over. Yeah.
so your way of going about this is sounds a lot how I'd like a lot of our departments to go about this. And that if done correctly, there's always a carrot in front of them.
Yes.
Learn
Yes.
more, grow more, and look, here's the next step increase. Here's the next job. If you don't get that stagnant that you were talking about, but they're just stuck in one spot, career ending, I'm stuck here forever. So I wish you the best and success with this, because if it works,
Well, I'll definitely need your support for that success. So as we move forward, so it would be our success. So yeah, and that's exactly what we're trying to do here is slow down the turnover, and spread out the knowledge base. If we can do that, I will feel very successful in this position.
So while he's doing all of this, which is critical, has to be done, they're also looking at, I've asked him to look at efficiencies. We're still of the mind, can things be outsourced? We know, and I told Randy when he was hired, yes, we probably could use a 5th IT person. The system has grown and grown. We get more employees, more department. Randy and I are the overall administrators for the fleet software. Every software has, you know, as an administrator and firewalls and all that stuff. So it just gets more and more complicated over time. We also know we're not going to get, nor are we going to ask for a fifth FTE. So the way to get there is to cross-train the team you have and then look at ways we can outsource things, such as the network administration. That's just an example. So Randy is, as he's coming up to speed, also looking at things with that unbiased eye, because he's not the one that built it. Can we outsource aspects of the system we have, the hardware system we have, and be more efficient, more cost effective there? So he's also looking at that as well. So if we can do that and better train the team, then we don't need that additional staff person.
Yeah,
Theoretically.
yeah, right now, the biggest area that we could really benefit from contracting out would be network administration. What you get with that, you have to have the right company to do that. You know, I've always said you don't do business with companies, you do business with people, you know. And so we need the right company with the right people to that we can communicate with, because what that'll do also is when you have an expert, you know, and that basically a hired gun to come in, and they can help just by experience, they can help train our staff in network administration. They can learn a lot. Our staff can learn a lot about network administration without having it laying directly on our shoulders.
Plus, when we only have one salary position, but we have 24/7 operations, deputies need access at 2 o'clock in the morning. So if the system goes down, you know, so there is an FLSA exemption for IT folks to be on a salary. We have not done that here. They're hourly. And so this also lays out a plan to move more people into that salary position for those off-hour weekend things that now may cost us overtime, or Randy, if he's available, can respond to. So there's other benefits to looking at things like the network. So, but anyways, he's looking at all till month 2. So I think he's doing a great job so far. So, and he's got a good team. IT folks are a good team. Jordan's a good addition to that team, and Curtis and Shelby do a great job. So
I would agree.
Questions?
okay, that does it for us. Unless you have any questions about anything for Casey or Jen or Randy.
I kind of have a question that's not necessarily related, but since you have people in the room that might know the answers to give us new commissioners a little insight, and I've talked to a few of you. The Christmas party, the employee Christmas party, and the meat for the employee Christmas party that we're responsible for. How many people are we thinking we need to provide meat for?
I've never been to one in 3 years. We haven't had one since I've been here. So
Kind of looking at Casey back there, since
I
she's the
would plan
guru
for
of
300.
HR.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Rab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole
And then we'll take
town.
the leftovers home.
That was done in the past.
You
One
plan for
turkey-
300. I'll plan for 50.
One turkey or 2 turkeys were done in the past? Or does anybody know?
I don't remember how, I want to say.
Because Rex did 2 turkeys.
Yeah.
I did
You
2. I did 2 hams.
And
Yeah.
Jim did,
Fried rib.
you did primary. I was gonna say.
Don't look at me.
It wasn't potato soup.
Yeah.
It's gonna be goulash.
we're gonna miss Casey.
I would imagine that we will have more attending this year because everybody's centralized within this
Right.
building plus that building. Whereas in the past, it was just in the courthouse and there were 5 annexes that made it, it would be more convenient for.
You're right, I'm just trying to figure out how many pounds of meat should be distributed, and then we need to get on board with, I don't know that you ever finally said what you were gonna do as far as meat goes.
I'm still trying to figure out what Jim did.
Years past, there were like 50.
Not
is
50,
What we
yeah.
planned. So if you up that to maybe 70.
It's gonna be a tight fit up there.
And a lot of people come and go
They
because.
do,
we-
it's over time, because it's over a
Yeah.
2 or 3 hour.
Yeah, we would do it like over a 3-hour period, and so there was a good flow of people. And yeah, when you're barbecuing, I mean, I always plan for half a pound per person, but that might be, a lot.
Right, I'm just thinking if there's, say, 70, we each need to plan to feed 25 with our meat source.
Right.
I heard your staff's gonna sing. Are you gonna?
Carol,
It's about 11 pounds of meat per person.
11 pounds of meat per person.
Half a pound.
That's interesting. My phone was vibrating next to it.
Oh. That's a new alert I haven't heard. That our lockdown, get down below.
The curtains start to
It
drop.
took me a minute to figure out what it was.
Yeah, just
The noon whistle.
11 pounds of pacemaker. So half pound per person would be 22 pounds of meat,
For 75 people. No, for 3 people. Right.
which would be 2 hams or 2 turkeys.
Yeah,
or
I'll get to it. I used to do one and then it got, the bone had been gnawed
Because
off.
like I said, I was thinking.
It's like,
of
yeah,
doing
dude's
smoked
probably-
Cornish
ribs,
game hens.
but
Yeah.
I don't know that that's necessarily Christmassy.
You can do smoked ribs and I'll do the.
You can do any, it doesn't matter. Yeah, anything. Yeah,
It's the idea of providing this for the employees,
Yeah.
they're gonna be happy
with anything.
With anything.
to an extent.
I got freezers full of hamburger.
Yeah.
With-
Want to do, yeah, taco
Another
meat, super
1,000 pounds.
nachos. I'd be totally good with that.
Works for me.
Healthy ribs.
2 turkeys.
2 turkeys.
Should be excited. I'll find somebody to do it.
Besides yourself? You might have already found one person to do one.
And again, for employees that might be listening, the date is the 15th.
It's
We'll have to
on the
double check on
calendar.
that.
I'll look.
Yeah, I think that's 15. So that
Christmas
sounds right.
employee, Thursday the 15th, 11 to 2 o'clock. It's on the calendar.
Okay. Okay.
Radio that
So
morning.
those of you working on your flash mob thing, hurry up. If you can incorporate the loft part into it, you get bonus points for that.
That
Thank you,
concludes our
gentlemen.
report. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Do you gentlemen have anything
I do.
to discuss before lunch?
Let me find it. I meant to have it printed out, but part of this is hoping to get some guidance from Mr. Sauter over there.
Okay.
We received these liquor and cannabis control applications into our thing, and there's a spot on there for us to approve or disapprove, and do you want to file an action and blah, 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 and then there's the signature down there. Does the chair sign these things, or do we just leave them unsigned and no response?
We initially, or early on, we did respond because we had them where because we had a moratorium, and then we had, when we didn't have a moratorium, then we had our, basically the ones that the gate had been opened, and we said but no more. And we also were not interested in any, because what happened is we had a moratorium and lots of counties had them, but the state had allotted so many licenses in those counties that had them, and they were fine with you moving one of those to a place that didn't have a moratorium. And so we said, no, we're not, our number is our number and we won't take any more. And so we did challenge those and they said they basically never didn't make any difference.
They were gonna
They were
sign
gonna
it
approve
off.
it, they were gonna sign off, and so we kind of stopped commenting, I believe.
Planning director always.
Oh, does comment on them, that's right.
You get a letter that she prepares draft. And
Yeah.
this one in your folder today. On this last one. She monitors those. she
Yeah, I
also
guess that's
tracks
right.
them, and the county always responds. They more or less respond back, don't care.
Yeah,
But the
So
county
we
does not
respond
let it
saying,
just slip through.
I didn't know we were still responding.
Yes, she is.
So for the most part, you're saying the county responds with a negative on their application?
According to what the
code shows.
The current code is we don't allow any, so our answer is no, we don't support it because we don't have any, our current thing is no more additional, and that's our response. They don't care, they issue them, we won't issue a local permit for it, and so.
Right, but it's like this one is the one on Bailey Loop that's been here ongoing, and it's just a relicensing of a current license.
Right, now that's different, we do have, because we have, and I'd be curious what our response is. Yeah, see what it is, because we have historically, if it was an existing one and they were either, right, and then we had typically, we were supportive of, if they had applied for a certain level, or they were approved for a tier, 1, 2, or 3, because some of them, and especially in the early days, they were approved for, say, a tier 2, but they had only initially constructed 1, and then if they were moving up, we had said as long as you were within the original approval, you could, because that's not really fair, is that we changed the rules after on you, but that was only those, and that we would look at, because we had the question of what if you were moving locations within, that I think that's kind of on a case-by-case basis is how we had treated that, I think. We hadn't really had anything, but as far as new applications and stuff, we typically say we're not open, and the state
still
issues
issue.
theirs, but you still can't locate them here.
So
because
this
Well,
letter-
you
local-
they're gonna do it and say, we got the okay from the state, but they haven't went through a CUP and
No.
they haven't went through our process,
Right.
because there's no way through the process.
There is no way through the process.
But we haven't had, so if the state issues you the state license and you start, growing agricultural product on agricultural land, but we have a moratorium, or in essence, have we had many code compliance violations against that?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody's actually done it that I'm aware of. I think they've applied and we've said no, and we haven't had the local process, and nope, they just haven't done it. I'm not aware of that we have some that they just did it anyway with their state.
Well, a lot of them are going out of business right now. that's
Right.
the thing.
So I think that's part of it, is it has been a non-issue. But
Okay, so this says the county record indicates Mary Jane is currently a non-conforming use. And I'm assuming that means it's not a use under our county code.
right.
So it's in violation of our code, and they're gonna do it anyway,
Right.
is kind of what you're saying. The reason this was brought up is this was actually brought to me by a law enforcement deputy that also received the application.
Right.
And they have grave concerns over the location, as this is in a residential area.
Right.
And I guess the request was to challenge on behalf of the residents of the neighborhood. But it sounds like that's been done, and that kind of sounds like that is what's being done there.
Right.
But I guess the answer would be, what's the second page of that form?
I believe initially, when all this came to be, that the residents on Bailey Loop were very,
Yeah.
very expressive
Right.
in their opposition against.
And I get complaints all the time from the smells and whatnot in
Right.
residential neighborhoods. So I guess the argument is we're sending a letter, but we're not checking the box that we approve. We're not checking the box that we're approving of the location. We're not challenging, we're not requesting a hearing, we're not signing their document. So if you don't sign it, it's acceptance.
I think, though, that we have in the past, when we challenged and we wanted a hearing, they said we didn't have standing because what we were challenging was not, it was our local code, and they were like, you have to deal with that,
With
your own code. You can't challenge our permit based on your code. You can take action on your code through your process.
But
Because we
that's-
initially did,
that
we would
letter's-
chart,
I guess I'm not understanding. That letter's kind of saying that they're not conforming with our code. Is the way I'm kind of reading that. So how would we need to change our code?
we don't, we would need to challenge our, but their hearing is not on our
Ours.
code.
It's on there.
It's on their code, and they are consistent with the state's code. So we can't really challenge that. We did try that initially. That's what we asked for hearings. We never got one, because they were like, you don't have standing, because what you're referring to is not our code.
So
That
if we had a problem with them permitting pot grows in residential neighborhoods, ours already says you can't.
you can't do that, right?
And so you're challenged now in their code, and their code is saying you can do that.
Right.
That's what you're arguing.
Right, and there's,
And
so
you've
they're,
challenged on that argument before.
And they
Does
would
anybody
not give us
remember
a hearing.
challenging this one on that argument, or maybe, don't know?
because I think this one, the initial one, it was during that time period when it wasn't against our code. It was, because like all the ones that we have were in that window of time between, we didn't have a moratorium, we had public hearings. The only people that came were in favor of us adopting. We kept rolling our moratorium, trying to develop standards. And in the end, it went through a planning process, and we opened during that open period of whatever, we ended up with like 7 of these and 2 of these and one, because it
Different
was
levels.
production, it was
Processing.
processing and sales. And so the initial period, the state allocated, they said, the county gets this many. And so we're like, well, I guess, nobody seems to care. And so that was during that period. So their applications were in the queue, because they had, the applicants had put them in when the law passed, and then everybody had to wait till the code was developed. And so they were queued up in line, the first one got the first slot, the second one, because they initially thought people were really, like, there was gonna be way more applications than there were available slots.
How does that work now then if we have whatever, 16 and a half?
Right.
I think is the number off the top of my head. If one of them goes defunct and bankrupt, do the state just slot another one in? Or are we now at 15?
They would, but we have said that we have no more, so it's only the existing ones that were in that window of time. Because the state opened the window again. We didn't open our window, because we've had a permanent moratorium on, we've said whatever our number is our number. Unless we want to change, I mean, we can change that if we want to, but that's the standing thing
So,
right now.
but like, for example, like a lot of these businesses, they change hands all the time,
Right.
the location. And so if we're saying we only have so many and no new ones, if you change owner from one to the other, do you get to retain?
We've
that
said,
right?
I think in the past, we have allowed that, where you're just selling the business to a new person. If it's in a new location, I think that I'm a little hazier on, like, I think we've dealt those on a case by case, because you were approved for a location. And if you're moving that business to a different place and it's inconsistent with our current,
You did allow the Dallasport one to move up to
Right.
Goldendale because he already had the location.
Right.
there. He just expanded
Right.
his location.
right, it was right, it was really more of a consolidation of the sort. But I don't think we've really dealt with,
My argument.
I don't know
isn't
that we've actually
necessarily-
moved one and we've said it was okay.
Right, I guess that's my point. I would agree with the previous board's decisions on that. I would agree with the previous board's limiting of numbers to what we currently have and whatnot. And out in Pobunk out there, not Pobunk, but off
Right.
in the middle of 40 acres is one thing. I'm just trying to figure out how one got permitted in a residential neighborhood.
Because it's considered general commercial.
Yeah, it's not residential, it's general commercial.
General rule is next to it, but it is in general.
Right, and that was part of the
They
argument
didn't
is that,
rezoned, it was just that's.
no, it
just
was already, it had been rezoned about 25 years
So it's
ago.
not in a residential.
No, it is
it's
not. People are
just-
saying that, but it's
Okay.
not. It's actually zoned commercial. And that was one of the factors that we looked at the time. We were
All the
like,
way down Columbus.
yeah, it's zoned for this, not, I mean, commercial use. And so it was in that period. And that's pretty much the one that's been the most controversial. Yeah, yeah,
And I heard about it before I was.
yeah,
writing, you know.
yeah. Well, we heard about it. And again, it
And there
was,
nothing you could do to. stop
well, again, it
location.
was during that period that it was open and they were grandfathered in. And as long, we said, yeah, if they wanted to expand or change locations or do something, then that's a whole different thing. But as long as it's there and they're working within their existing permit, it's not, you can't change the rules. I mean, they made investments. You were doing a business and you got your permit to do it, and then the neighbors find out, 6 months or a year later, which was what the case was. And then they're upset and they want us to retroactively remove it. We couldn't do that. So I don't think we've had any where we've approved change of location. I think we've never done that.
Cause I remember that one moving from Dallasport, you were really questioning.
Yeah.
On that kind of thing. Oh, look, I got a mole on my neck.
Yeah.
Okay, squirrel.
Put it right in the side of my head.
All right, what are you, 12? Come on.
Oh, it's my mic, that's what it
Oh, yeah, it's this little,
was. The stand wasn't showing, I just looked up there and like, is there a fly on the screen?
yeah, what is that?
Okay, that, I guess that helps.
Good.
So, I mean, I think those are policies that could be changed if you choose to.
Where would
Anything
there
else?
be a record? I guess I could talk to Moshi if she.
Yeah,
has
I'd do it
one.
in the planning
Might have
department
a
as far as.
record on whether this one has ever been challenged or.
Well, it was because we had like packed later, because when we,
Right, but have you ever filled out the form that says we challenge the location?
on this one, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
But.
I don't think
every
so. I
other
don't think
one-
on this one because
But
it
every one
was.
you've ever challenged, they've said
That was
too bad.
after, so we had our, 7 of these and 3 of these and whatever. Anything after that, when they applied for a permit and we got that letter and said, what do you think about this? We initially challenged because we said, you can't, there are no more. And we never got a hearing. So
Never got a.
they wouldn't even,
permit
because they said we had no standing. Because again,
So
we
when
were
we
not
say-
raising an issue with their.
It was with ours.
It was with ours, and they're like, you're gonna have to deal with that
Right, you
yourself.
just confused me. So when we say we got 16 and a half and they try to give us 17 and a half and we challenge, do they still give us 17 and a half?
That's the part I don't know. I'm not aware, but we may have some out there that they're acting,
Unilaterally.
right, that they've got their state permit and but they are out of compliance with our local land use ordinances. And so, because they need a conditional use permit, you can't get a conditional use permit because it's a prohibited use. So there is no way to legally be compliant with the local process. And I don't know that we have a bunch of bootleg ones out there. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. There could be some that are operating.
There's a bunch of them all the time. In fact, they don't even own the property. And they're usually on state ground.
Well, yes, that's an old problem. They don't have a state permit though.
But I guess the other thing is does our nixing of it, does that include CDB too? Or is that just cannabis?
Mm,
Because that gets into a whole nother thing. Because if the state's issuing permits and you're saying, I'm doing CDB, I'm not doing cannabis, it's not a prohibited use.
right. Yeah, I don't know, but I would think that would still, you'd have to go through our local process if that's a conditional use. You have to go through that.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, look at that. Somebody's listening.
See, I'm trying to draw out all this institutional knowledge before he leaves.
I have some.
Yeah, you have more than I do, and
I
your
didn't
memory's
realize
better
you
than
had
mine.
that much in this part of it, but it makes total sense that you would.
Yeah.
So tell me about especially this one.
Okay, so Bailey Loop, that is Mary Jane. They have a building permit apply for before the deadline. So initially, when they have the 502, we have a list of applicants saying that they want to put their business in our county. And so we keep track of those lists. This is a very small number, so we didn't really go into to create regulations or anything like that. And then later on, we have moratorium, we lifted the moratorium, and then we have another moratorium. Now it's actually a prohibition in our zoning code, so no new business will be allowed. But with all those, on my list, I have 18 of them here, and those are the ones that initially they're all considered as legal businesses. Now they're legal non-conforming because no new business will be allowed in our county. Some of those is no longer in business, at least 2 that they are no longer in business. Whenever we receive a notification from LCBs, we'll try to provide some kind of response, but as Commissioner Soto was mentioning earlier, it doesn't matter if we are opposed to it. They are not against the state rules, and the way that it's set up is the applicant's responsibility to comply with local regulations. So they have to come through us to say if that's okay. So whenever we receive an inquiry about that, we'll tell them it's a prohibition. We will not allow new business in our county. So there's no CUP, no nothing that they can really do unless they want to do it illegally. For Mary Jane, in that particular locations, there are actually, you used to have 2 licenses. One is a permitted use because they submitted an application before October 21, 2014, and that got them vested. But there's another business that was applied for with LCB after the deadline, and we clearly saying that that's not something that we'll support. So the current notification is for an assumption. They are trying to sell the business for the one that is actually considered as legal non-conforming. And so we allow them to continue their business as long as they are not expanding. So for this particular location, it's for a tier 2 producer and a processing permit. And so we wrote a response for your consideration is we'll have no objection to it because it's a legal non-conforming use. However, if they want to relocate to another location that currently does not have any 502 related businesses, we will not support that. And it happened before. We did allow for one transfer, and that's the one from Dowsport to Badger Gulch to an existing location with another businesses there. But the location, because the LCB license for that particular one for Dowsport is Wildweed, they have a producer and processing privilege attached to that. But by moving to this new location, which has an existing marijuana business or cannabis business there, they give up their processing privilege for the county to consider to transfer to a location that already have an existing businesses. So that one, we went before the commissioners and we have a resolution on file to say that's okay, given it's not exactly an expansion because they do have related business there, but they have to go through some kind of public process to do that.
That was much more eloquently put than my explanation, so.
Yes, it was.
But it was consistent, I was
Yeah.
not, yeah, okay.
I just had to piecemeal.
So I thought I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
need to come down.
Put it all into it, it was better,
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah. In order,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I said her memory's better than mine. And she has a piece of paper in front of her.
I think part of that might hurt us if we don't let them move, and boy, if this place wanted to move out of a residentially, granted, they're not residential,
Right.
but if they wanted to move out into the country, granted, their neighbors out in the country may not.
Yeah, so that's a retailer in Murdoch,
Right.
but they gave up the location. That's a retailer, location used to be in Murdoch.
Yeah.
But they move out that location. So I believe right now in our county, we may only have one
In Bingen.
in Bingen.
There's not one in Goldendale anymore?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know about that one. But those are within the
Did that
cities.
stay open? Did the one in Goldendale, it's still? I think it's still. Okay, it's still open. Okay, so I guess we have two.
But originally, we were allocated 4
Right.
that could be located in Klickitat County, including the incorporated cities. But right now, we do not have any in the county. One is in the city of Bingen, one is in the city of Goldendale, nothing in the
Because
county.
of the, I wouldn't even call it a moratorium, it's a prohibition
Yes,
on growth. 2 new ones can't come in, even though we said we'd do 4.
right.
Not within the county, maybe within a
The
city.
cities could, because they're outside of
Our
our
jurisdiction.
prohibition, they could. They could, so if they wanted to, although I think I think
They have a cap for
they have a
one.
cap for so many in the cities, so many in the counties.
At the
There was
time,
at the
yeah.
time, they could change that, but they could, yeah. So theoretically, the one, because the one, because we only had the one county one in Murdoch, and they lost their location, so it's gone. I suppose they could move it into one of the cities.
Possibly,
perhaps,
yeah.
Possibly, but yeah, no, the 2, they can't come in.
And now, if you could, and shed some light on what he was saying, that in the past, they have signed the document disapproving of the location and whatnot and never got a hearing.
Because on that notification, at the bottom of the page, you will say if the local government approve of this location, and we used to always say no
No.
for anything new. And then they also, one of the questions is, do you request to have a hearing? And we say yes. But we typically always have, if we ever get any response from LCB, they always say that your objection is denied because, this is the applicant's responsibility to comply with all rules that's applicable to their proposal. And they are consistent with LCB's requirement. So whether they are comply with, local zoning code, then applicant's responsibility to deal with local regulations directly, not through LCB. And so they would issue the state permit and not even touch on the local requirement.
So how many ballpark would you say that we signed and said no, never got a hearing? I mean, was this just standard policy for years?
It was in the beginning, after, because it
Now
was
you
like, we're
just don't even
closed.
Sign them, you just send this.
Because we
form
kept getting
letter
the
on.
same response and or no response.
Yeah, it's been 10 years since the, 502. This year is the 10th anniversary. I try to track 502. I do not track any co-ops, anything for medical related. I only track the recreational ones that is considered legal non-conforming. So anything not on my list, we always say no. Not that we cannot support that. It's basically the county's position because we have a prohibition. But we either do not get a response from LCB or we receive something from LCB. They always say that, we cannot take your comment and not issue the state permit.
Yeah, because initially we were thinking, well, if it's prohibited locally, why would you issue a permit for something that they can't do in our county? But they don't care because it's like
Because
it's
they're supposed to hit
consistent.
they're supposed to hit their numbers
Their
and what they allow.
Right.
Right, but then again, I mean, theoretically, you would think if we had a stick because they were non-conforming to county code, and you had fines and penalties and whatnot, you could probably go that route if you wanted.
You could, and again, I don't know that we have, I mean, do we know we have, I mean, because they've issued these in the past, the state permit. And I don't know if anybody's actually trying or is operating illegally.
So there's a difference between a legal non-conforming use and just a non-conforming
Right.
use. This is a
Legal
legal
non-conforming.
non-conforming use because they got in. And so what,
Before.
in essence, if you want to go after them and find them, for applying for a permit and getting a permit and, you know, going through that process when it was open and you could do that, and now you want to come in later and say, no, you can't do that because of our county code, what you're in essence doing is saying, well, we gave you the option to do this and now we're taking it away.
Right. That's what we said. We can't change it. They're legal non-conforming uses. We have lots of legal non-conforming uses across the
Right, the
whole.
hard part for me is how they ever got permitted there.
Because at the time, we do not have any prohibition.
Yeah.
We just consider it as a permitted outright use. At one point, we even consider those as ag-related activities, is growing, you know, plants. But now,
Yeah, I think that is that's what we used.
Let it go there.
Right, we used the code, we used our existing code and treated it as an agricultural use. And we had public hearings, everybody thought it was a great idea, nobody came. We were like, because we were all like, wow, I thought people would not be a big deal.
50-50 on the voter ballot.
It was, and I had said that when we were trying to decide what we were gonna do. I went and actually looked precinct by precinct, and I'm like, it is literally, there was one vote difference in my total thing. Across the whole thing, it was one vote, and it was yes by one vote and no lost by one vote. So I'm like, I guess I'm the one that's out of step. And so if that's what people want, I guess that's what we'll do. And so then we did it. We went through the stuff, and 6 months to a year later,
And it's not hit.
then everybody came in and said, why, how did you approve this? And it's like, where were you? We had hundreds of people came and testified, all in favor. So we are like, okay. And so then what we ended up with is like, we're not, you know, it is, because at that point, because they only opened the period for, it was very short. And so we just said, no,
Right,
we're.
and I guess my kind of argument is, if you open up the can of worms, it might go the opposite direction of the way you think.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know what you mean.
If you go back into this and try to hammer down on the 1 or the 16 and a half or whatever.
Well, you
have,
can't really, because again, they're permitted.
it isn't
non-conforming
fair and
use.
it isn't right, but I think.
Oh, you can, you'll end up in court. If I build a business and I have all my permits and then you came in and said, your thing you're doing, we don't like it anymore and it's now illegal and you have to close, you're gonna write me a big check. As long as I'm compliant, I follow the rules, I have to. You can't retroactively make me illegal. You can from this point forward, and that's what we did.
In some zoning codes and stuff, what it does is you got like a 5 or 7 year time to wind down your business. I've seen those written before.
And I also know sometimes like non-conforming use, if the use is discontinued or destroyed, you
6
can't put
months.
it back. Yeah. You
Right,
can't.
and
That
I
is
guess
one
that's
way.
what I'm
Over
arguing
time,
is,
they
right,
go
If
away.
you wanted to try to veer that course, public sentiment might not
Going
be
the
50-50.
Right, you don't
Now
know.
you opened up a can of worms.
Right,
'cause
right.
Now you have 87.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know. Yeah, because I was out of touch then.
Because you didn't think it was 50.
I didn't think it was 50-50. I was really surprised. And it was like, that was one of the first times the vote in this county was a surprise to me, where I'm like, oh,
That was
okay.
the second time.
Yeah. I said the first time.
All right, all my questions have been answered. Thank you for helping. All
Yeah.
that.
All right. I would entertain a motion.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn for lunch back at 1 o'clock.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn for lunch. We'll see everyone back here at 1 o'clock. Thank you all, and all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you all for that education.
It's amazing how much you can forget.
Well,